The Texans play the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday for the third time in less than a calendar year. I am not concerned about the things that you should normally be concerned about when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. But there are a couple of things that I'm wondering about in this huge game for both Houston and Kansas City. We'll talk about that, take a look ahead at this NFL weekend, and I answer your questions on an Ask Gallant Anything Friday. I'm Paul Gallant. This is the Gallant Says podcast live. Hit it! Get it on!
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people are.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to see.
Grow up, mother. Are you kidding me?
Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Oi! Welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast. It is a Friday. Got to get down on Friday. Ask Gallant Anything Friday. December 5th, 2025, live on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and on X. If you want to jump aboard the show, that's how you do it in progress. You can also leave voicemails the old-fashioned way, 281-836-3912. You can text that number too, or send me an email to gallantsays@gmail.com. Texans, Chiefs, Sunday, Arrowhead Stadium, NBC at 7:20, with kickoff time temperatures around 27 degrees. Brrr, it's so cold. Honestly, as somebody who used to live in the Northeast, I would feel that way. My blood has thinned down since moving down to Texas. Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites in this game. And you understand why, even if this Chiefs team is not looking like Chiefs teams of the past. Yes, they are 5-1 at Arrowhead Stadium, one of the toughest places to play in the NFL, one of the most fun places to watch as a fan in the NFL. But this is a more mortal team than we have seen in years past. They have lost a lot of one-score games this season for whatever reason, and I think that there are more questions about their defense than there have been the last couple of years. Their defense has been one of the league's best. And I also just wonder about the operation of their offense. First off, 3 starting offensive linemen could be missing on Sunday. Patrick Mahomes is having a good season, but by his standards, it's definitely disappointing. And the Texans have a lot of familiarity with this team. As I said to open up the show, they have played the Chiefs twice already in a little less than a calendar year, with that game last December against Kansas City, with that game that they played in the playoffs in Kansas City, and now a third trip. 3 games in less than a calendar year. There's some familiarity here. And I imagine the Texans have some confidence because while they didn't win either of those games, they did hang in there, even though they were extremely sad after Tank Dell's knee spontaneously combusted against the Chiefs the first time around. And the second time around, I mean, they hung in there despite CJ Stroud getting sacked 8 times. I know a lot of people blame the referees for that loss. I'm not going to. I mean, the offensive line was fucking terrible in that game, and that led to massive changes during the offseason. You got to give the Chiefs their flowers. You got to respect them. Even if the season were to end today, they'd be out of the playoffs. And even if they lose on Sunday, it puts them in a really difficult spot to make the playoffs. I am more concerned with this. One, I'm concerned with the mythology. I'm not concerned with the mythology of that Kansas City offense. I'm not. Not this time around. I think Patrick Mahomes is one of the all-time greats. I do think he will have the occasional moments, as he always does, where he escapes the pocket, he gets a first down on a 3rd and 8, and you're going to be annoyed, and he's going to tightrope the sideline, and maybe a Texans player tries to hit him, and they hit him a little bit too late. He goes flying out of bounds, and a 15-yard penalty is thrown, and maybe a player gets ejected, and you're getting all those conspiracy theories. He's going to be able to do that a couple of times. But is he going to be able to carve up this Texans defense? I have my doubts. I think that they frustrated him in the playoff game last season. And I think given the offensive line situation for the Chiefs, they put Josh Simmons on the injured reserve and a couple of other offensive linemen. Their guard, Trey Smith, their tackle, Jawan Taylor, they're not going to play. This Chiefs offense, even if it does have Patrick Mahomes, even if it does have Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy's speed, I think it's going to have a tough time moving the football against the Texans. Andy Reid, I'm sure, is going to cook up something that confuses the Texans for a little bit, but this defense, in my opinion, for the Texans is the best one in the league. I don't think it's going to come easy for Kansas City. The other thing I'm not that concerned about with Kansas City that normally you would be, as I said a little bit before, that defense is top 10 for sure. They were a top unit last year. This year, they're more mortal. Their second half statistics are not particularly good, as we saw on Thanksgiving against the Dallas Cowboys, and as we have seen a couple of times against Kansas City. So, those are the things that I'm not as concerned about as I would be in years past going up against Kansas City. What I am concerned about, while there's definitely some familiarity playing in front of that Arrowhead Stadium crowd, they do that. They do the tomahawk chop. I hate that because I grew up a Florida fan, so I hate the Florida State version of it. Chiefs do it. Braves do it. Atlanta Braves. Cleveland Indians used to do it. I don't think they do it anymore. You're going to hear that a lot during the game, especially if the Chiefs are doing well. It's a tough place to play. It's an intimidating environment. It's crazy to me that they're thinking about leaving that stadium. But hey, they're not going to be leaving it Sunday night. It's going to be loud. It's going to be louder than last week with Indianapolis. I'm told that Lucas Oil Field is a tough place to play, but I'm not sure how loud it was. I'm really not. It seems like a lot of people believe it was a little more quiet. I don't know if they forgot to pump in the crowd noise like they normally do. That's on record. Oh, the Colts would never do that. RCA Dome, the entirety of its existence, the old dump that they used to play in before this stadium. I don't know how challenged the Texans were with C.J. Stroud back under center and with the offensive line with that rotation. And I don't know how challenged they were in Indianapolis. They will be challenged in this game. Pre-snap communication. It's going to be huge. You want to limit false starts. You want to make sure that you don't have illegal formations, of which there have been far too many this season. You want to make sure that there's no illegal shifts. Communication is going to be huge for this game on Sunday night, and it's going to be tough to do it in a place like Arrowhead Stadium. I don't care how many times you've played there in a calendar year. It is one thing to play there versus some of the other places that they have played. Now, I guess you could argue if you wanted to, well, even when the Texans play a home game, there's so many road fans, it's kind of like a road game for them. And that is actually a very good point, which goes to show you that there's a lot of people that just do not buy into this Texans team yet. And here's the thing. I think a lot of people will say, well, the Chiefs suck this year if the Texans do pull this one off on Sunday night. More concerns. And Big Orange Network brought up the 7 sacks that the Texans gave up happened when the game was already cooked in the playoffs last year. It was 8, I think. It's a very low bar for the Texans offensive line this time around against Kansas City. You just have to not give up that many sacks. Can you keep CJ upright? And they have made progress this season. They're certainly not one of the best units in the league, but from the beginning of the year to where they're at now, they have improved, much like this offense has incrementally improved. Big problem was when it seemed like it was hitting stride against the 49ers, CJ Stroud gets a concussion. The Broncos game goes the way that it does, and then you have Davis Mills for a couple of weeks, and you're happy that Davis Mills is able to give you a couple of wins. But now, last week, I think Stroud had his moments, but he definitely was a little bit rusty. He even acknowledged as such after the game. So, second week, everyone together, full week of practice for Stroud, primetime game. How's it going to go? The other thing I'm concerned about, I mentioned it at the very beginning. I'm concerned about the weather. Now, I know the Texans played in colder weather last year in the playoffs against the Chiefs. It was 23 degrees last year. Sunday night, it's supposed to be 27, 28 degrees. That's rough. A side note, I hate that the Texans play in a dome. I think it's some soft-ass bullshit. I do. I know the players don't have any control over it. This is a stadium that was built with a retractable roof. The roof is almost never retracted. Makes you wonder why they built it in the first place. You do understand it because it's so hot in Houston for much of the year. But I think that they would have had a great home field advantage at the beginning of the year if they played outside. Fans don't like it. Tough shit. Don't go. I like the idea of having a home field advantage because it's hot to open up the year. The elements are part of football. Anyone who says otherwise, you're soft. You're soft. Sure, I'm a little biased because I grew up in Massachusetts, grew up going to Patriots games, bundled up in the snow, watching Peyton Manning shit his pants in the playoffs, time in, time out. Oh my God, some of the greatest memories of my life. And it was fun to look at the Colts and laugh at them and think that they were a soft little finesse team that plays inside. But guess what? Texans are kind of that, as are all teams who play in domes. Domes are soft. They're an abomination to the National Football League. I think every single team should play outdoors, regardless of where they play. The elements are part of football. Fuck off with those, I want to see the teams at their best possible. Nope, football is about teamwork, and football is about overcoming obstacles that you don't expect. Weather and football should go hand in hand. If it's muddy outside, if it's raining outside, a monsoon outside, extremely windy outside, cold outside, snowing outside, I love all of those different variations that can happen that affects a strategy for a game. Much like it would, you go back in time to all the battles of history. How many times did weather determine who won and who lost a battle? I've been watching this Revolutionary War documentary on PBS, the Ken Burns one. The amount of times that the Americans escaped due to fog will blow your mind. They were on the ropes several times. Fog happens, they sneak away. Football military comparisons are a tad cringe at times, but football should be played outside. And I'm concerned about the Texans' ability to handle the cold, even if they've done it a couple of times. It's going to be cold. Can you swarm as hard as you generally swarm indoors when you're playing in 27-degree weather? Hitting somebody when it's cold sucks if you've never done it before. First couple of years of playing football for me, I was playing in Massachusetts. We never had a game that was snowing, but we did have games where it was in the 40s and raining. That was awful. This might be a little less miserable because there's no precipitation supposed to happen. But it has been a cold week in Kansas City. Chiefs have been practicing in the elements. No real way for the Texans to simulate that unless they are ramping up the air conditioning at NRG Stadium, which, by the way, is pretty powerful, especially if you're walking underneath the stadiums in the tunnels. It gets into like the low 60s, high 50s there. It gets cold. You got to have a jacket there if you're there working late. Huge game for the Texans. Can they make it happen on the road? I saw Sideline Sarah, who is a good Texans follow on Texans Twitter, posted this video of Chiefs special teams coordinator. I believe his name is Dave Tube. Maybe it's Dave Taub, talking about the weather and the impact it could theoretically have on the game between the Texans and the Chiefs Sunday night.
I'll tell you one thing that I do like is the cold weather. That makes it feel like playoff weather, and it just feels like that's natural and normal for us. And I practiced yesterday. It really felt good being out there with the cold weather. I think that's going to help us.
I think that's going to help us. What do you mean by that? I think it's going to help us? Huh? You saying the Texans are soft? They're a bunch of Southerners. You sound like the Starks of Winterfell. These Southerners they march up north into the cold winter. They'll never be able to handle us. These Southerners coming into our kingdom, the Chiefs' kingdom. More Dave Tube or Tab or whatever.
Changes the conditions. Does that change that demarcation line?
Yeah, I mean, I always talk about the cold weather as like return season, and I think that helps. I mean, guys don't want to run down there and tackle in the cold weather. I mean, a lot of guys don't, but I just think it gives you an advantage, a mental advantage, if you had success in that kind of environment, and we have.
So that's Dave Taub talking about how the weather could impact this game. He clearly seems to think it is some sort of advantage. Is it? I don't know, man. I don't know. But it will be interesting to see. It will be very interesting to see how it impacts the game. I do think it will have some sort of impact on the game. Concern 1, playing at Arrowhead because of the loudness. Concern 2, the weather. Concern 3, one Texans injury in particular. We'll see what happens on the Texans injury report today, but Kamari Lassiter has not practiced this week for the Texans. He's dealing with a foot injury. When you're playing cornerback, any injury to your legs, to your feet, that could be the kind of problem that keeps you out of a game. I'm not sure who would step up for Kamari Lassiter in this one. If you have both Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter, you've got options as far as what you want to do coverage-wise. I don't think Stingley or Lassiter are people you expect to maybe match up with Travis Kelce one-on-one, and I am curious who does that because the Texans at safety are also dealing with some injuries with Jalen Reed banged up. So that means Miles Bryant's going to be there, and he wasn't great in that safety spot. So is Travis Kelce going to have another big game? But the Chiefs have 2 really impressive wide receivers. I think Rashee Rice is one of the better receivers in the league, even if he's an asshole. And then after that, they got a bunch of different guys that all have shown at times that they have a special gear in them. They're fast. We're talking Hollywood Brown. We're talking about, what's his name? Xavier Worthy, who's super fast. Fleet of foot. Texans swarming. Maybe you hit him the right way, he fumbles, you get a turnover or something like that. But there are some players on this Chiefs offense. Isaiah Pacheco's still around. They've got Kareem Hunt back again, too. It's really about that offensive line in front of them as far as what Kansas City is going to be able to do. And it does seem unlikely that both Trey Smith and Jawan Taylor are going to be able to go for the Chiefs, who are already without Josh Simmons, who they put on the injured reserve. So down both their tackles and a guard. Are the Chiefs going to be able to run the ball when they haven't been great at doing it all year? Are they going to be able to keep Patrick Mahomes upright? We shall see. But that Kamari Lassiter injury is a big one, and it could level the playing field for the Chiefs, who I think offensively are not as good as the Texans are defensively. But Texans, for their offense, I don't know what they're going to be on the road against a team like Kansas City that at the very least is a solid defense, even if in the second half they have been from time to time exposed. Chiefs defensively, George Karlaftis was a full participant in practice. He's dealing with a thumb injury. He was a pain in the ass against the Texans last year in the playoffs. Chris Jones is an absolute menace. I guess his nickname is Stone Cold. Are you allowed to take away a nickname from a legendary wrestler, especially if that wrestler's from Texas? Do we acknowledge it this week? Shout out to Stone Cold Steve Austin, by the way, who has a cat, and he's very, very open about having a cat. More people should have cats, you know? Anyway, it's the perfect bachelor pet. So there you go. I think the Texans can win on Sunday night. History would tell you, don't fucking say that, Paul. But I think that they have a very good chance to win on Sunday night. I don't really do the predictions thing. I know a lot of people are all about it. Fuck that. I like watching the game and being surprised by what happens. But they have a shot. They're just going to have to figure out how to play. 1, in front of a loud crowd. 2, in cold, frigid weather, which they've done a couple of times before, just like they've played at Arrowhead Stadium a couple of times before. And 3, what's the deal with Kamari Lassiter? But the mythology of that Chiefs offense with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, it's not as concerning to me as it's been in years past. They've got a real shot to win this thing Sunday night. What do we got? Let's read some comments here. Big Orange Network says, go Vols, fuck the Gators. Now, I know Big Orange Network always hangs out, so before I say something mean, bless your heart. Thank you for being here. But, I mean, damn. Peyton Manning never won a national title. You were 0-4 with Peyton Manning under center against the Gators, like during your glory years, and then a black man won the national title where Peyton Manning could not. Now, I don't know how you feel about that, but I know the great state of Tennessee would probably have some issue with that, at least some of the people that are up there. Just a thought, just a thought, just a thought. But yeah, the Gators stink right now, so. H-Town Hardhit, as I was talking shit about the Colts, asks, is the AFC finalist banner still up? I believe Jim Irsay, who has passed away, sent it to the Pardon My Take boys. So I believe that Big Cat, PFT commenter, are actually in possession of it in their Chicago office. Could be wrong on that front. For as much of an asshole as Jim Irsay's dad seemed to be, stealing the team from Baltimore in the middle of the night and moving them to Indianapolis, Jim Irsay seems like he, despite all of his issues, to be a good dude, a quality guy, someone you'd want to have a beer with. I say that because when Vanessa Richardson, my old radio co-host, when her dad passed away, he actually sent her, he sent her something. I forget what it was. I don't know if it was a basket or something like that, but I thought it was a very kind gesture by him. So I like Jim Irsay. We'll see how his daughter does. I know that whenever I talk about his daughter running the show, that my girlfriend gets a little bit annoyed because I wanted this thing to blow up in her face. I really did. You got the meddlesome owner on the sideline wearing a headset, and this is just how sports media works. But if the Colts had been struggling, I would have definitely pointed at her, for sure, because I want to make fun of the Colts. But guess what? I mean, to their credit, they have been pretty solid this year, though. The last couple of games, 1 and 3. Ian Lindblom says, catching sucks in the cold. You're right about that. Is this going to be a day for the Texans' hands? Are they going to be good? Dalton Schultz had a couple of critical drops against the Chiefs last year in the playoffs. Is he going to be able to pull in the ball when it matters the most? Daywalker says, under 24-point total coming. Well, the over-under for this game, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 41. Let me see. 41 and a half. So you're taking the under on that one. I would rather take the over-under for this game than to take the spread and make a prediction. So I'm going to go under as well on that one. Let's read some more comments. We've also got people hanging out on the Instagram. Shout out to 713 Houston Sportscast. All you got to do is, praise my appearance and you'll win me for life. Am I that vain? Yes. You're so vain. You probably think this show is about you. It is. It's my show. We talk about whatever I want on it, I do be like that. TikTok, Akalon says, let's read some TikTok comments, everybody. Please follow if you're watching along for the first time and you like what you see, or share this with a friend, repost this, or just keep liking it so this thing blows up. Sometimes it does. We've got Weapon X713 saying, I'm expecting at least 3 roughing the passer or unnecessary roughness calls on the Texans. Yeah. There will be at least 1. From what I understand, though, and I haven't watched every Chiefs game this year, less of those calls have happened this year. There have been a couple of times where Mahomes has been trying to get one of those calls, and it hasn't happened. Austin Swan says... Austin Swan, I'm sorry. I don't know 100% what you're saying. Matt asks, will Kamari play? We'll find out. I'm very curious about what the injury report's going to say today. I'm going to take a look to see what our guy, Cody Stutes of Houston Football said, because he does a very good job generally at practice scouting out who's ready to go and who's not. Ooh, hell yes. Kamari Lassiter, per Cody Stutes, was at practice today. There's a chance he can play tonight against the Chiefs. Hell yeah. Let's go. I will say this, though, a little bit concerning. As far as other injury news, the Texans put defensive tackle Tim Settle on injured reserve. For those who don't remember, Tim Settle's the guy who talked a little bit of shit about the Chiefs before Texans-Chiefs the first time around last year. I think he specifically directed it toward Patrick Mahomes, and he blew a tackle on that Mahomes touchdown scramble that he had, and then after that, he kind of kept quiet. But I like Settle. He's funny. He's going to be on IR. The Texans claimed a cornerback, Jamarcus Ingram, off of waivers from the Buffalo Bills. He played 139 snaps for Buffalo this year. That makes me wonder if they are very concerned about the depth at cornerback. We'll see if that's the last we see of Tim Settle this season. But there is a chance Kamari will play Sunday. Easy790 says Dameon Pierce. You know what? That is interesting. I forgot Dameon Pierce is going to be back with the Kansas City Chiefs in this game. Is he going to be a returner? Is he going to give the Texans any intel? I'll say this about Dameon Pierce, and I've always been a big fan of Pierce. I think he's got some talent. But I do not expect Dameon Pierce to be able to tell the Chiefs much about the Texans offense, because it seems like he never was able to pick it up here, to be frank. And we saw that talent that he had his rookie season where he's running for almost 1,000 yards with Davis Mills under center and with a bad offensive line in front of him. And after that, when the Texans' new offense came in, he never really figured it out. I'm guessing that's why he never played. That's why they went with Devin Singletary, and why they obviously moved on to Joe Mixon. And this year, with Mixon out, it was Nick Chubb. We'll see Nick Chubb, I'm sure, Sunday night. And Woody Marks banged up in this game. We'll see how much Woody Marks we see against the Colts. He seemed rather, what's the word? He smirked when he was asked about being banged up against the Colts on Sunday. So I think he's going to be out there. I think he's going to play through it. But bringing it back to Pierce, I don't think Pierce couldn't get on the field when there were more injuries this year. And, they waived him. I think they were hoping that they could trade him for somebody, but everyone knew, hey, he doesn't understand the offense. Just waive him. And I'm sure the Chiefs brought him in because they like the talent. He is a great returner, and thought to themselves, let's see if he can pick up anything from their offense for us. Jay Pedraza says, this game is huge. It's our Super Bowl. If we beat our bully in front of the world, we are for real. Well, I think there will be asterisks put next to this win if the Texans pull it off. I do. Because this is a very mortal Chiefs team. They're 6-6, This is not the Chiefs of old. Is the run done? I'll never say that about them. As long as Patrick Mahomes is under center, they are dangerous. And it is hard for me to get over some of the things that I laid out at the beginning of the show. The mythologization of the Chiefs. I think that's a word. I hope it's a word. Might be just pulling it out of my ass. That's the tough thing to get past. Jay Pedraza says, Mahomes needs to feel uncomfortable. We need Aziz to lay serious hit to send a message. Oh, I don't know. They get ejected? AMF likes the clean-shaven look. Okay, well, shout out to you, AMF. The girlfriend likes the clean-shaven look as well. She says that I have a jaw. I didn't think I had a jawline, but I guess I do. I don't know. But I had a mustache for a month for, men's health awareness. My dad had cancer he had cancer 2001 through 2003. He's been in remission ever since then. But last year I decided what first started for a Halloween costume to grow a mustache. I thought, I'm going to have a mustache for all of November, and I did the same for this month as well. More comments here. D-Real says, instead of Swarm, let's be Bulls on Parade. No, that's the past era. That's the J.J. Watt era. Bulls on Parade. I like the Texans Swarm. They try to make it a chant at the stadium. Texans Swarm! Special work ethic and relentless mindset is what it stands for, in case you didn't know. Texans Stampede. Texans finally beat the Chiefs. Let's play it again. Raymundo says, laughing emoji, laughing emoji, laughing emoji. Tell them everything you know, Damian Pierce. Yeah, honestly, it might confuse the Chiefs a little bit. D-Real says coaching wasn't too bad last week. The offensive play calling was way more creative than it's been. There was some creativity. I like the sweep that they had to Nico Collins for a touchdown. D-Reals is picking a Texans win. Dale Mize says, will they please not give up any points? It's a good question, man. I don't know. This is a funny quote. Let's go to our YouTube chat. Daywalker3Z says, my biggest concern is the game being nationally televised. Yeah, I feel you on that. Greg Todd says that my Lord and Savior Tom Brady's on Fox with the FIFA 26 draw. We're going to figure out what games Houston hosts, I believe, tomorrow. I'm not a fan of the World Cup being anywhere in the United States. I think FIFA is a corrupt institution, and I'd like them to be gone. I'd like them to be gone forever. Anyway. What else do we have today? Big DQ says, side note, don't hit Patrick too hard. LOL, yes. You got to be careful. What else is going on around the National Football League? Last night, you might have watched Thursday Night Football. Cowboys came crashing back to earth, huh? We've been waiting for that Lions offense for a while. 44-30, the Lions win. Jahmyr Gibbs, awesome. Again. 12 carries for 43 yards and 3 touchdowns, but that some of the stuff he was doing, 7 catches for 77 yards. As a multi-purpose back, no one's better. David Montgomery had a touchdown as well. I think it was a 35-yarder. Not the most impressive performance from the stat sheet side of things for Jared Goff, but 309 yards passing and a touchdown. Jamison Williams had 7 catches for 96 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 6 catches for 92 yards. Lions did whatever they wanted against this Cowboys defense, where the Chiefs also did the same thing. Dallas's defense it's not great. This is one of those games where if you're a Cowboy fan, you're pissed off at George Pickens, who seemed to check out in this game. It was a rough one for him. Dak Prescott put up numbers, but that's the team, guys, that beat the Chiefs last week. That Cowboys team, who also beat the Eagles the week before. Anything can happen in the National Football League. You could take a look at it that way. The other way you could look at it is that's who Kansas City just lost to. Don't mythologize them in your mind. I did an episode earlier this week saying that, and I did an earlier episode this year talking about how don't do that with the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are really just Josh Allen and a supporting cast that's solid. The Chiefs right now are a good, not great defense with an offense that can move the football, but not consistently. And Patrick Mahomes has been running for his life this year. It does feel a little bit like the Super Bowl against the Eagles and the Super Bowl against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to this point. Big games of the weekend as far as the Houston Texans are concerned. In case you did not know, the Texans are the first team out in the AFC if the season were to end today. They are the 8th seed. They would be at the top of the In to Hunt graphic, if that makes you feel special. Ahead of them in the standings are the 8-4 Buffalo Bills, who they've beat, and they have the tiebreaker over. The 8-4 Indianapolis Colts, who they beat, and they have the tiebreaker over. The 8-4 Los Angeles Chargers, who they play later this season. The Ravens lead the AFC North. We'll get to the Ravens, who have a big game against the Steelers in just a moment. Steelers are the 9 seed in the AFC. They would be the second team out. But they also have a 6-6 record. The Jaguars are 8-4. Texans split their season series with them. Broncos, the 2 seed at 10-2. Patriots, the 1 seed at 11-2. They're on their bye week, New England. Very late bye week, much like the Texans had the late bye week last year. So what are the big games with all those teams in mind tomorrow? Let's start in the noon window. Joe Burrow and the Bengals on the road against the Bills. Now, the Bengals aren't making the playoffs, but did they not look a lot better with Joe Burrow back under center last week? I mean, I think the entire NFL should be thankful that Burrow wasn't able to go for much of the year. And it was a Baltimore team that's not the same Baltimore team as they've been in years past. There's something I think up with Lamar Jackson. Feels like he's playing through something. But they smoked him. It was 32-14, the night Thanksgiving game against Baltimore. Could the Bengals beat the Bills? I think so. This is the same Bills team that earlier this year showed up looking like they were overlooking the Patriots, lost to the Falcons, and got blown out by the Dolphins. So a game to keep an eye on. I think that the Bengals could theoretically win that game. The Bills are 5.5-point favorites. I definitely take the Bengals to cover that. I think this will be one of those down-to-the-wire games. The Bills' offense is probably going to do whatever it wants against the Bengals' defense, which is terrible. Other game that's of note. Colts, Jaguars in Jacksonville. Colts are 1.5-point favorites on the road. This is a great day for the Texans. One of these teams is going to take a loss. So if you get a win, you're going to find yourself in a pretty good situation, at least relative to one of those teams, because you are 4-1 in the division. You just got to win that last game of the year against the Colts, and you'll be 5-1. Both Indy and Jacksonville, who will play each other another game after this, are 2-1 in the division, and that's a pretty important tiebreaker. Say the Texans split their series with the Colts. They already split their series with the Jaguars. and if the Jaguars and Colts split things as well. But that's a big game. That's probably the most important game for the Texans in the afternoon window. Another important game in the AFC. You got the Steelers and the Ravens. The Ravens are 5.5-point favorites. It's not going to be a fun game to watch. It'll probably be a violent game. It's a shame that the AFC North gets a playoff spot. They've been saying that for years about the AFC South. Other games of note that impact the Houston Texans. In the AFC, it's kind of it. Monday, there's that game between the Eagles and the Chargers, who have a banged-up Justin Herbert, who had surgery on his wrist earlier this week. But I guess there's a chance he plays. Meanwhile, in the NFC, it's a kind of boring slate outside of one game. 3:25, Bears, Packers in Green Bay. Bears are the 1 seed in the NFC. Is this the year where the Bears take care of business against the Packers? I have my doubts. They play them twice in the next 3 weeks. But Chicago has won 5 in a row. And while I think every Bears fan is surprised that they are winning, they sure keep on winning. So there you go. Comments, YouTube, at Paul Gallant. Like and subscribe if you're watching along on YouTube. Christopher DeLeon 4186 asks, are you worried about ticky-tack flags being called against the Texans? I'm worried not about ticky-tack flags being called against the Texans. I'm worried about the Texans knowing where to draw the line. They pointed fingers after last year's playoff loss to the Chiefs at the Chiefs, and I thought it was lame. Even if they were right, the Mahomes flopped on that one play, and the 2 personal fouls that were called would not have been personal fouls 20 years ago. But you got to know that when it comes to Mahomes and the elite quarterbacks, more often than not, you're going to get the short end of the stick. So you got to be careful. And that's tough because Mahomes is great at escaping the pocket. But if you have an opportunity over the middle of the field and he doesn't slide for whatever reason, and he generally does, smoke him. Punish him. But he's not stupid like Jackson Dart plays. He's not the kind of person that's going to put his body in harm's way. Super Serial says, hopefully the Chieferies don't affect the outcome. Big Orange Network says, I feel like the Texans are going to get bad karma, bad officiating from the Colts in this game. I don't know about that. For all the bitching and moaning about the referees by the Colts, and that's all they do. That's all they've done their entire history. They got a rule change because they lost a playoff game where Peyton Manning melted down and threw 4 interceptions. 5-yard contact rule used to not be enforced until the Colts started bitching and moaning after they lost to the Patriots 24-14 at a playoff game. The AFC Championship game for the 03-04 season. I was at that game. Manning just melted down. 3 interceptions by Ty Law, 1 by Rodney Harrison. It was a bad performance by Manning. The Colts had a chance to win. Manning didn't just puke it away. And the Colts were whining that they were getting roughed up. Well, they're a soft finesse indoor team. And then the next time the Patriots played the Colts, after the 5-yard contact rule had been enforced, the Patriots were actually missing a bunch of their starting defensive backs, and they had Troy Brown out there from time to time, a wide receiver playing a little bit of corner, some guy named Earthwind Moreland and Hank Poteet. And guess how many points the Colts scored this time around with rules that were more favorable to them? 3. Why? Because they're a soft finesse indoor team, and it started snowing again. And as soon as it started snowing, they shit their pants. I think like the first play of the game that the Colts offensively snapped the ball accidentally over the head of Peyton Manning. It was a rough operation by the Colts. I saw after the game, St. Tony Dungy. He was like, oh, the refs. Well, what about that call that was called on Kalen Bullock for a pass interference to set the Colts up for a touchdown where that ball was clearly uncatchable? More comments on TikTok. Raymundo says, do you have any interest in a Tyrann Mathieu reunion? No, I don't. I don't really. Justin Simmons, too. At this point, you roll with what you got. I think it was Kay Adams had Simmons on and was trying to manifest Simmons to the Texans. And I forget if Matthew was on with Kay Adams as well. Matthew's out of the game. He's been out of the game for a while. And he was a little bit of a diva when he was here. And, Jalen Petrie is the guy who's playing his position and probably at a better level than Matthew still could. Ricky Rose asking a couple of fantasy football questions. No offense, dude. Fuck your fantasy football team. I don't give a shit. Make your own decisions on this. I'm going to say this every single time. The TikTok always does this. Either it's people bitching and moaning that I won't illegally pirate a stream of the game for them. And you know what? You want me to go to jail for you? You're not even giving me a follow. Suck on my you-know-whats. And then you're asking for fantasy football advice. And I'm just telling you, anyone who plays fantasy football, don't listen to somebody else for fantasy football advice. Do it on your own. I hate the fantasy football industrial complex. I hate the gambling industrial complex that have taken over sports. I hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it. Trust yourself. Have some fun. Be the coach. It's fantasy football. Who should I play? Who should I play? Figure it out. Do it on your own. Isn't it more rewarding to do it on your own instead of asking somebody who you should play? I think so. Anyway. John says in all caps, this guy is clueless about sports. Oh, that might be true. But here you are, watching. Probably with a shitty fantasy football team. Probably rooting for a shitty team as well. I bet your favorite team is not the 11-2 New England Patriots. I'll say that. You know? So there you go. There you go. Do-do-do-do-up. Shibble-dee-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-up. Andrea Dupuis. Sorry, I said that horribly. Andre Dupuis, 324. Do you think, with the Chiefs having a subpar season, we won't have the Phantom roughing the passer calls? They have been getting less roughing the passer calls this year, from what I understand. John, all caps. Oh, you're one of those all caps pussies? Jesus. Okay, but you're still hanging around. Patriots haven't played a decent team all year. Learn football. I would love to understand what it is that makes you think I don't know ball. Please. Enlighten me. Enlighten all of us. I mean, you're here, you're watching. Clearly you're sexually attracted to me. And that's fine. I'm hot. Taken. Also not gay. Despite the rumors. But why are you so grumpy, Panda Bear? What's going on? You sad? Are you sad about something? Are you lashing out irrationally because you're having a rough day? It's Friday. Friday. Gotta get down on Friday. I am the greatest thing that's ever happened to sports talk. Yeah! To sports talk. Yeah! Fun. Looking forward to the weekend. John's a little baby, providing zero context for why I don't know the sports ball. But since my parents had sex in New England, and I grew up rooting for the Patriots, I have higher standards than you possibly could have. It's Friday. This person's saying, so if I don't agree with you, so you bully me, grow up. Well, I mean, you came in here, all caps, being a dick. That's why. That's why I'm operating this way. You came in here like a cunt, to be frank. This isn't bullying you. You came in here, what were you doing just a moment ago? Oh, you don't know ball. You're not, give me a reason as to why I don't know ball. Instead of just coming in here like a fucking asshole. Anyway, TikTok, everybody. It's fun. It's so fun. What else do we have here? Let's go back to the restream. Ask Alon anything. Friday, you can ask any question. I will work it into the show. Unless it's about football, because I don't know anything about football. Okay? Don't know anything about it. You know? Want to talk about FIFA? Want to talk about the World Cup? Could do that. That'll be fun. FIFA. It's a corrupt organization. They're gonna rape the city of Houston all year. Promenade downtown. Why? Promenade downtown. Why? It's fucking hot out. No one ever will use it. No one walks downtown in the city of Houston. FIFA can lick my taint. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. You know? Ian Lindblom asks on an Ask Alon Anything Friday. What's the What's the hair gel brand? Hans de Foucault. Claymation, baby. Hans de Foucault. Brantley Lewis, 8302 says, Titans, Giants, Saints, Raiders, Browns, Jets, Falcons, Bengals, Dolphins, Steelers, Panthers. Am I reading the Pat schedule or the 2026 NFL draft order? You're reading the Pat schedule, but again, it's coached by Mike Vrabel. They're hitting people hard, and they're playing with house money this year. It is funny. Like, you try to troll a Patriots fan, you can't. You know, you just can't. You have nothing to come at me with. They haven't been good in like 5 years. Suddenly they're good, ahead of schedule. Drake May's an awesome quarterback. I'm supposed to be upset that they're 11-2 because they played an easy schedule. I'm happy they played an easy schedule. They might have home field advantage in the AFC playoffs. Deserve it? You got to play the schedule that's in front of you. Take care of business. Take care of business. Don't lose games to bad teams. Now, on the Texans front, the Texans have played a really tough schedule, probably the toughest schedule in the league. Take a look at who they've played against this year. How many of these teams will be in the playoffs if the season were to end today? It's a lot. So, for sure, the Texans have played a tougher schedule, but like, you're trying to talk shit to a Patriots fan. I'm sorry. You got to come with something a little bit more than that. Oh, the schedule's easy. Yeah, great. Awesome. I love it. I love it. I've seen 6 Super Bowls in my lifetime. I don't need anything else. Like, I have enough for the entirety of my life, championship-wise. Really. So if you're going to come and talk shit, you got to do a little bit of a better job. You just have to. Tukey Texan says, keep going, LOL, I'm jamming. Just you want to keep on riffing renditions of Friday, got to get down on Friday. Ian Lindblom asks, any chance Bill Belichick gets North Carolina rolling the next 2 years? I want it to happen, but it's looking rough, man. It's looking rough. Jordan, his girlfriend, like now she's like filing Freedom of Information reports on specific members of North Carolina's media. It's really lame. Really lame. Ugh. So I'm not feeling great about it. I feel like the guy Mike Lombardi, who's his general manager, it's another close relationship that this guy's like doing stuff on a typewriter. Ugh, it's rough, man. Rough. Notorious Clout said, hang on a second, I gotta scroll up. Notorious Clout says, I remember going into the 2018 season, everyone said the Patriots had no chance to beat the Chargers. Since then, I don't listen to sports rhetoric. You mean the 2008 season? Here's the thing, if you grew up rooting for the Patriots, you kind of forget. Like, wait, what was the team that was supposed to beat them? Which one was that? Oh, yeah, and they didn't? Oh, huh. Now, a lot of that is Tom Brady, but Belichick was a big part of it. But, yeah, I'm not feeling Belichick going forward. Ian said that they did have a good recruiting class. For sure, but I don't know, man. Alejandro Acosta says it'll be safer to walk downtown with the promenade. During the World Cup, maybe. But also it depends on what countries end up coming here, you know? Let's see. World Cup draw. I don't know much about soccer. I mean, it was supposed to be done by now, right? It wasn't supposed to start at 11. This is just happening. This is just happening right now. What the fuck are these blogs? Got a push notification. U.S. is drawn with Australia in Group D. Mexico to play South Korea in Group A. Who gives a shit about Mexico and South Korea? Who gives a shit about that? Let's see some more updates. This podcast is riveting. Ian Lindblom asks, have you talked to Ryan Rocket about guest hosting? Rocket's got to come on at some point. Doing the interviews, it's generally hard because I got to figure out a time to do them, and then I have to edit them down and then put them into the live stream. And since Restreams is a bunch of bullshit, you can't schedule a stream to be posted. Because I'm trying to do it at the same time every single day, but this week has been a little bit different because this week's been a little bit different because I was filling in on the radio in Kansas City Monday through Thursday in the morning. And today I did TV. I was going to do it today at 7, but then I did Fox 26 this morning, which was fun. Shout out to Nate Griffin for bringing me on. Nate Griffin's a great dude. I'm looking for the World Cup group. Here we go. Group A, Mexico, South Africa, South Korea. Group B, Canada, Qatar, Switzerland. How many commercial breaks are there for this fucking bullshit? The U.S. is with Paraguay and Australia. Oh, great, another South American team that is a smaller country than us that we've probably committed acts of imperialism on that will probably beat us. Group C, Brazil, Morocco. Group E, Germany, Ecuador. Group F, Netherlands, Japan. Group G, Belgium and Iran. Iran's in? Ugh. Ivory Coast just got added to Group E with Ecuador and Germany. France and Senegal in Group I. Group J is Argentina and Austria. Group K is Portugal and Colombia. Group L, England and Croatia. That'll probably be the most fun, but also the most dangerous. Because first off, England's going to bring their hooligans. These trashy imperialist people. They can't, speak freely in their country anymore, right? Because of all these crackdowns on free speech. So they're going to be probably a little more loose with the language down here. They lost Revolutionary War. The Ken Burns documentary. Fantastic. And Croatia, I say Croatia because when I was in Croatia on this thing called Yacht Week, I met somebody who was a boat captain, and this person had some wounds on his chest, and I was like, oh, what are these from? These from, boat injuries? And he's like, oh, it's knife wounds. So I used to run around Croatia with a team that they call in Croatia the Billies. They're like the Great Whites. And he was just being a hooligan. And one time he got stabbed a couple of times, and then I was like, all right, my hooligan days are over. So now you know. That could be a fun group. England, Croatia, and whoever else is in it. That's going to wrap things up today, guys. I don't have much more. I did want to do a little politics, but it's a Friday, and this show's late. And I'll be honest, I want to get my weekend on. So, if you haven't already, please like this video on YouTube. Go to @PaulGallant, like it, then subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You don't have to watch the show on that. I just need bigger numbers, baby. Do the same on Twitch. Sign up for all these accounts and just sign up and follow. On Twitch, I'm @GallantSays. You don't need to sub. I appreciate the subs from the real ones, but just give me a follow. That's all I need. X, @GallantSays, @GallantSaysPod. That's where I post clips from the show. Instagram, @SportsGallant is where you will get reels of the show. @GallantSays if you want to stalk my personal life. TikTok, also @GallantSays. I post reels of the show to that too. Shout out to the TikTokers. Been a great audience over the last couple of weeks. Also, it's on Facebook @PaulGallantSports. I have not been very active on Facebook. Trying to be better about that. We're going to have a Discord in the near future. We're going to have a Reddit in the near future. You can also get it in podcast form. Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Subscribe, rate, and review the Gallant Says podcast. I think there's another way to post podcasts, but I don't know the means. Is it Amazon Music or something? I don't know. We'll try to get it on that if we're not on it already. But Ian asks this question before we wrap it up. For the next move, is it radio or bust? Have you considered any other avenues? Voice acting, commercials, or normie labor? Yeah, I've considered everything. For sure. Everything. It's not radio or bust. It's digital media job or bust. Radio I would gladly take. And I'm doing some fill-in work for Sports Radio 610. But yeah. Anyway, that's it. It's over. Go home.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain.
So long, farewell. Stay tuned to social media over the weekend because we might be doing a special watch party for Texans Chiefs Sunday at an establishment to be named. I just have to make sure that we have it all ready to go. This is a recent development towards the end of the show, but appreciate everybody who has made the Gallant Says podcast such a blast for me over the last 3 months. And until after the game Sunday night, so long, farewell, and have your